Greetings and welcome to a video tutorial. This one's going to cover how to get your dev environment set up for the Java class. Now, most of this should actually already be set up. If you have taken the Programming Fundamentals course and you still have everything set up from that, you're like 90% of the way there. But in case you had to reset your computer, you took the old version of the course or whatever the case may be, going to go over all the processes that you need to go through, everything that you need to get set up to make sure you are ready for the course. First and foremost, you need Visual Studio Code. Just download it, install it with default options, and you will be good. You should be able to go to code.visualstudio.com. This button should auto-detect, but if it's not showing you the correct platform here, do make sure that you click on the other platforms option to be able to install the version that you need. You will need extensions, but we will talk about the extensions later in this video. Next up, you are going to need a GitHub account and GitHub Desktop. Now, you don't strictly, technically 100% need GitHub Desktop. You can technically do everything that needs to be done through the Git command line interface. I do not recommend that in the slightest. Most instructors will not be able to give you support for the Git command line, and it is complicated. So, download GitHub Desktop. Make sure you have a GitHub account. You do not need GitHub Education. Git changed how the GitHub Classroom system works. We're still hunting down all of the references to GitHub Education. So if you see a reference in the documentation about needing GitHub Education, that is incorrect. You do not need it. You are more than welcome to authorize your account under the GitHub Education program because that does give you benefits, but it is not required for the course. You will need a W3 Schools account. Again, should already have this, but just in case, make sure that you're signed up for this. You can use your Git account, your GitHub account, to log into W3 Schools, so you don't need yet another account to keep track of. You can use the same one. Make sure that you are signed in while doing your reading. You can tell that you're signed in because you'll either have your profile pic here, or if you've not set a profile pic, a little blue meeple icon. Because if you are not signed in, like I didn't notice that I was not signed in when going through all of the Java sections, it will not retroactively assign the reading flag to them after you sign in. So it is very important when you're doing your reading for your assignments, make sure that you are signed in, so that way you get the little green bars showing that yes, you have completed this reading assignment. When you go to submit proof of reading, I would strongly recommend using the snip tool on Windows. It is Windows Shift S, which will then allow you to highlight a specific region of the screen, which I don't think the recording software was able to pick that up very well. But again, Windows Shift S, highlight a section of the screen, save that out as a file, and then submit that as proof of reading. All right, the new item you're going to need to make sure that you have installed and downloaded correctly, Java. Make sure for anything involving this class that you are looking at Java, not JavaScript. Anything that says JavaScript or any files that have a .js extension do not belong to this course. JavaScript is a completely separate language that has utterly nothing to do with Java. There is no connection between Java and JavaScript. So for this class, make sure that everything that you are looking at, that you are working with, is Java. Furthermore, when you go to download and get this set up, make sure that you are downloading the JDK, the Java Development Kit, not the JRE, Java Runtime Environment. The JRE is for running already built Java programs. It certainly won't hurt to have the JRE installed on your computer. Probably already is. But that will not let you write code. You need the JDK to write code. Which means if you are not on this page, if you are not on Oracle's website, your download is most likely wrong. Make sure that you are on Oracle. Make sure the download says JDK. And obviously make sure you're downloading it for the correct platform. I would recommend downloading the x64 installer version if you're on Windows. I do not know Mac OS and Linux well enough to recommend, but I would recommend the installer. Most likely is the one that you want. Linux, you're on your own. It has been too long since I have used Linux to be able to recommend which one of these you should download. As far as the version goes, download the most current version. As of recording, as we can see, the version is 24.0.2. Do not worry about the version number. Versions change. This video will not be re-recorded every time the version number changes. So whatever the version number is on this main download page, that is the version you should download for your course. Now, there is a specific pattern to install that I would recommend. And that is download and install Visual Studio Code first, then reboot your computer. Then download and install Java, specifically, again, the JDK, reboot your computer. Then open up Visual Studio Code and install your extensions. Do you strictly, technically speaking, need to reboot your computer that many times? Probably not. But rebooting the computer will help ensure that all the path information is properly updated, everything knows where things are, and just helps eliminate the possibility of trouble. You should not have to fool around with your path environment variables, unlike Python. As far as extensions go, there are 2 extensions you need to have downloaded. You need the Java extension from the Oracle Corporation, and you need the extension pack for Java from the Microsoft Corporation. Both of these can be easily found by typing in Java in the search bar for the extensions. The Java from Oracle extension should be at the very top. And then the extension pack for Java from Microsoft should be just a little ways down from the top. Again, this is not to say that the other extensions are worthless and should never be used. Absolutely not. It's just that these are the extensions we will use for the course, and we need to make sure that everyone's got the same extensions, so that way when we're trying to troubleshoot issues, we're not troubleshooting the extensions, we're troubleshooting your code or your setup. And a little technical hiccup caused me to reset the recording, which is why we have the sudden jump cut. Okay, after you have your extensions installed, you're going to want to test to make sure that everything is working correctly. Which means you're going to want to have a folder for storing all of your code. Now, what I would recommend is that you have a folder, like I have here, dedicated to holding all of your class code. It does not have to be in the Documents folder. It can be wherever you want to set it. But you are going to want to have a folder specifically for holding all of your Java files. It just makes organization and life a lot easier for keeping track of things. Now I'm going to create a new folder here because I want to show a specific dialog box that you are very likely to get the first time you open something in a new folder. So I'm going to come through here, create a new folder. Now I am going to give this folder a bit of a random nonsense name because I want to make sure that Visual Studio Code recognizes this as a brand new folder. And then coming in here, I'll create a test folder. Personal preference again, but I find it very useful to always have a folder that I know is throwaway code. I don't care about anything in that folder. I know there's no valid code in there. It's just a folder that I use for experimentation and I can clear out whenever I need to. So I've got my folder created. I'm going to click on select folder. And then Visual Studio Code will most likely at this point prompt you, do you want to trust the author of the files in this folder? And you do have the option of trusting all of the files in the parent folder. Selecting this option here can cause you to have to go through this box less often, but it is, technically speaking, a security risk, but only if you are downloading random code off the internet and running it without actually looking at it, which is a phenomenally bad idea regardless. I always tell it, yes, I trust the authors because I know only my code's going to be going into these folders, however you want to do it. You do, at the very least, have to say, yes, you trust the authors to the folder you are in. So every time you download something, you check something out from the GitHub, you will receive this box. You will have to say, yes, I trust the authors, which will enable you to compile and run code. Again, personal recommendation, trust the parent folder. Now we need to create a new file. You can either go here, new file, or I usually just prefer to right click. Now, capitalization is important here. Capital M, lowercase a-i-n, main. So capital M, main, dot Java. The capital is important. Then, after you have this file created, you can come over to W3 Schools, go to the Java Home section, and then here you can see there's this little sample code snippet. Public class, capital M main, public static void main, system.out.println. Copy that over. So I'm going to highlight it. Control C, hop over here. Visual Studio Code will most likely try to be helpful and autofill in a public class main. If it does, just highlight it, delete it out, paste in your main, and now we're good to test. Now, if you have all your extensions installed correctly, you should see these icons, or not icons, text options right here. You want to see this. This is how we will be running our code most of the time. You can, like in Python, either hit F5 or go to the Run menu here and select Start Debugging. And that will work. And select Java and off it goes. Hello world. However, it will not work when it comes to getting input from the console. For that, you are going to want to use the options here. Either way, whether you're hitting F5 or you're clicking on Run or Debug, it should work, and you should see Hello World displayed down here. If you do not, a couple of things to check. One, make sure your extensions are installed. So if you come over here and you look at your installed list, obviously ignore the C++ stuff, that's not for this class, but you should be able to go through here and find the extension pack for Java and the Java Oracle Corporation, and it should not say disabled. If you disable it, it'll show like restart extensions here. If it says that, the option should say here disable, meaning that it's currently enabled. So that's one thing to check. Make sure that all of your extensions are properly enabled. Failing that, double check, go back to Java Oracle, and re-download and reinstall the JDK. It's always possible that something went wrong there. Standard IT tech support suggestion of, have you tried turning it off and back on again? So both, you can try closing and reopening Visual Studio Code. And you can try rebooting your computer. If after all of this you are still having problems with your setup, give your instructor a message and they will be able to, through a Zoom session, take a look at your computer and try to help you out. One final, very optional tip is I would recommend having GitHub Desktop and Visual Studio Code as desktop icons. You're going to be obviously accessing these two items a lot for the class, so having them as easy to access icons on your desktop is recommended. Okay, quick recap. Download and install Visual Studio Code. Default options are acceptable. Have a GitHub account. Download and install GitHub Desktop. Default options should be fine. Have a W3 account. You can use the same account for GitHub and W3. Download and install the JDK, Java Development Kit, from Oracle. Default options are fine. For Visual Studio Code, for extensions, make sure you have the Java extension from the Oracle Corporation and the extension pack for Java from the Microsoft Corporation. That is all. Hope you enjoy the class, and I'll talk to you in the next video.